It's okay. We still have 5 minutes. Then I will let Pak Dicky or Pak Iswandi say hi to the participants.
You mean using this 5 minutes?
Yes.
Oh, my lecturer. Ci, Kak Cine, piye kabare Ci? Kak Ci Firdi. It's good to see you again, Pak Kak Ci.
Atil still mute Mas Pak Ahmad Firdi.
Guys, Pak Ahmad is the one who is responsible for designing and also developing the journal in STAN, Customs Journal. So maybe Pak Ahmad, you can use this 2 or 3 minutes before Bu Tunjung start the session to promote the journal.
Yeah, come on Pak Firdi. It's a good opportunity.
Bu Evi, hi.
My favorite lecturer from Pancoran.
Oh my God. I need to hide my video.
Come on.
Sorry, Mr. Dicky, but not this time. Maybe next, because I teach.
Because maybe you need 1 or 2 hours to present your journal, and 1 or 2 minutes is not enough. Once you speak, you will need a lot of time. That is understandable for a lecturer. That's right, Ibu Evi.
Mr. Deswanti.
Ibu Evi, I think I cannot hear your voice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's much better.
I'm joining two session actually today. So
Oh.
Somebody remind me of this. I registered for this meeting also, right? From Bu Amel,
Yeah. And Bu Evi is the biggest fan of Pak Dicky.
Oh, she said so.
Yeah, Bu Amel said so. Say so.
So I think that is the difference between a student and a teacher.
Really?
The teacher try to compress their speech and presentation as short as possible, while a lecturer they try to expand the time to make the
That's why
presentation.
never give me a microphone. Yeah, don't give me a chance to speak.
I think Pak Dicky will not gonna be our speaker. Is not gonna be our speaker, but our stand-up comedy. Our comic.
Hopefully, I can entertain you well.
Okay. Oh, Pak Tarto, our next speaker next week.
So you guys, you always have English session like this, yeah, regularly.
Every hour.
Every hour. All right.
No.
That's
Just
so
kidding.
Very good.
Only when you are around, Bu Evi.
Yeah, when you're
Really?
around.
You saw between me and Pak Dicky when it comes to casual conversation, yeah. Also
Yeah.
Johnny betul ya Pak? Surabaya ini betul.
Guys, if you ever had attended the training course about the English, maybe you will meet Bu Evi, general English or intermediate English or another customs English. You will find her with the very fun ways to learn about English, listening to the music, etc.
Just playing in my classes, yeah.
Yeah.
But I never have a chance to be her student or what is her student? Yeah. Every time I apply for general English or whatever it is, I cannot join with that problem. Yes. Only one business English. That's it.
Oh my God. Sorry. Apa Pak? Yeah. In 2 weeks from now, we are going to have business English e-learning classes in my training center. So feel free to join our program. We have three
Yes.
batches. Yeah, we have three batches: Business English 1, 2, and 3. So
Mm-hmm.
for Business English 1, we will have basic correspondence like writing emails, memos, and faxes, and also business conversation like telephoning. Okay, for Business English 1. For Business English 2, that will be for what was that? I don't really remember. Meeting, yeah, business meetings and writing reports, yeah, report writing. And for Business English 3, we will have negotiation skills and presentation skills. So feel free to join our
That's
training.
good. Wow, that's good. Everybody can roll in.
Yeah, from your unit, there will send the name of participants to our training center. So from customs,
Uh,
they normally send some names here. I don't know. I'm not really
mhm.
aware of the administration here. We just it's kind of PJJ, yeah, distance learning, not e-learning, but PJJ. So it is a full-time courses. So one course is 3 days. It takes 3 days. So
Okay.
one day is around 8 to 10 training hours for for the lesson. Yeah. But for the synchronous session, that will be around for training hours only. The rest will be for asynchronous session. I mean, you have to do your own learning with
Mhm.
yourself or with your partner. There will be place for you to do your breakout session or with collaborative learning. Yeah, so it's more for learner centered learning actually. So more with your own learning. But yeah, it's like switching our regular training into digital learning, right? So it's just like classroom, not just like micro learning things, but it's like fully joining a program, I mean training program,
Okay.
only for
Oh,
3 days
okay.
for one
So
course.
you, I cannot do my daily tasks in my office. It's
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
because I
that is
have.
a full full
Mm,
engagement for the course. So you need to have certain surat tugas, yeah, to join the
oh,
training
see.
fully.
Okay.
But maybe later
Okay.
on we are going to have another micro learning. We are still preparing. So what micro learning, you can do it anytime, right? Your
Yeah.
own. But this is for like PJJ, yeah, distance learning. So it's like actually
Okay.
we are supposed to do that, classical traditional classroom, but we just cannot do that because of this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So we switched
Mm-hmm.
that into the
Okay.
yeah uh e-learning, sorry, PJJ, yeah, PJJ class.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. But micro learning, that we do not have time to practice our conversation, right? But
Yeah,
in PJJ, yeah, we still have a chance to practice our
yeah, yeah.
conversation
In
or
PJJ,
our.
you will have a lot of
Excuse
practice,
me.
of course. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Excuse me, Bu
Okay.
Evi.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Maybe we should
Yeah,
start the
will be
session
2
much
p.m.
earlier.
So
now.
I need to hide myself right now. The floor is
Yeah, we
yours.
should do a special session for Bu Evi. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Yes,
so
please.
uh, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I'm very glad to meet all of you here. And now, unfortunately, I am becoming an MC and also a moderator because the real moderator on is somewhere on the meeting. But I'm glad to see all of you here. So we have our special speaker, Pak Dicky, who is going to deliver a topic, customs and international supply chain. And we are going to have a lot of discussion, a lot of conversation. So he's just gonna introduce the topic in some like 15 minutes or so, and then we're going straightly into the discussion. Well, I need to say hi first for Bu Leni from Maluku. Hi,
Hello,
Bu. Yes. Hi. How are you?
Glad
Yeah.
to meet you all. Maluku not
Yeah.
alone now. A lot of
Oh,
participants
okay.
coming from Maluku, I think.
Yes. Bu Titi from Jogja.
Hi. Nice to meet you, Mbak Tunjung. I really miss you.
Yes. Pak Yudi. Nice to meet you. Yes. Bu Melani. Yeah. Pak Ahmad Firdiansyah. Okay. Pak Firman. All of you. Okay. And Pak Tarto, our next speaker.
Hi.
I guess you're
I'm
learning
here.
right now,
Yes. I haven't speak English for a long time.
yeah? Okay. Bu Evi, our special guest for Pak Dicky.
Thank you. Hi,
Okay.
everybody.
Yeah. Nice to meet you again, Bu Evi. After our last training,
Okay.
I guess 2 or 3 years ago.
Wow,
Okay.
you still remember
3
that.
years ago. 3 years ago.
Oh yeah.
2017.
Okay.
Yes.
Glad
So
to be here.
this is our second CEC or Customs and Excise English Community Inspirational Talks. So last week we have Bu Ririn Septiani as our speaker about the financial planning. And without further ado, I will start the inspirational talk. So I will read the CV of the speaker. So host, please share screen the speaker's profile. Okay. So yeah, this is our flyers. Pak Dicky Hadi Pratama will deliver about customs and international supply chains. Next. He is now head of Customs and Excise Medium Office of Ternate, and he is now in office, ya Pak?
Yes,
Not working from home. Yeah. So during this pandemic, are you always in the office?
most of the time, yes.
Most of the time, okay. I think you're very devoted.
That's a little bit difficult to answer.
Office.
But Yudi knows the situation very well.
Yeah, okay. And he's got a PhD degree from Victoria University, Australia, majoring in, what major were you in, Pak Dicky?
In Australia?
Yes.
Business and management.
Business
well, the school itself is business and management, but my thesis is about supply chain.
Okay, so that's why you are considered as customs and excise expert in supply chain.
I don't know how can you come with that conclusion.
I don't know. But yeah, okay. In this topic or in this event, you are the expert in supply chain. Okay.
One disclaimer, I'm not writing all this, right? It's you.
Yeah, no. Somebody wrote this.
I'm not claiming myself to as an
and
expert.
I just
No,
read
not
this.
at all.
Okay. Yeah. His education is Doctor of Philosophy from Victoria University, Australia, and then Master of Laws from Kyushu University, Japan. Was it international law?
Yes, international trade, actually.
International trade, okay. And then Bachelor of English Literature, Airlangga University, Surabaya, where you met Bu Evi, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, as your junior, okay. So he also he was also posted in some positions like head of export one section in headquarter, head of multilateral cooperation section in headquarter, head of dissemination and information section in Lampung, functional officer for import examination in Tanjung Priuk, head of excise section in Pontianak, and staff coordinator of import administration in headquarter.
Hopefully this is the last slide.
Okay, the last slide is this one. Next, Intan. Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, rules of the game. We have the rundown. The explanation from speaker is only about 15 minutes. Is it enough, Pak Dicky? But we can always extend it if you think that this is not enough. And then discussion about 45 minutes or so. This is also can be extended. And then after that, closing remarks. And the important one is feel free to speak, because the aim of this event is to invite you to speak, and do not hesitate to deliver your ideas, comments, or questions. If you want to speak, please raise your hand or say hello CEC in the chat room, or type your questions here in the link. I guess there's a link in the chat room, but if there's not, please Didit or Intan put the link of the question room in the chat room. Okay, so I think that's all of the CV of the speakers and the rules of the game. So time is yours, Pak Dicky, for
Thank you.
introduce your topic.
Thank you, Bu Tunjung. Hello, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon. It is always very nice to see you again here. I can see a lot of familiar faces. Ibu Melani, who has been always there when I need her, when I was in Kantor Pusat. And I also see a number of customs officers from my own office. I'm glad that you are joining this event. And many other participants are not showing their video. I would appreciate if you can show your video so we can the use of Zoom is more effective. Thank you, Bu Tunjung, for that quite long introduction of my CV, but some of them I don't really agree. Like you say that I'm an expert. No, not at all. I just finished, not just 2 years ago, I finished my study in supply chains, and it doesn't make me an expert at all. In fact, when you study, you are triggered to ask a lot more questions, and it's like a never-ending journey answering all those questions. Pak Yudi, Pak Firman, and Pak Iswandi perhaps have this similar feelings, especially when you start your journey in research. So I think I can now start sharing the screen. Do I do that, or somebody out there doing it for me? Bu Tunjung?
Okay, I guess we can ask Intan to share the screen. Yes.
Thank you. The first slide. Well, I have two sections of my presentation here. The first sections perhaps will take around 15 minutes, and the rest of the slides, it really up to the audience whether we really want to talk about this. That's why I have that questions at the end of the title. Well, before that, perhaps I'd like to respond on the title of this event, Inspirational Talk. I'm not sure if I can be as inspiring as the other presenter, Bu Tunjung, because I had this experience of teaching, whether in STAN, also in BPPK together with Bu Effie. I think I have a title like a lame joker rather than inspiring. So if it is not as inspiring as you expect, I should apologize for that, perhaps. But and then I think the inspiration here that I like to encourage is about us to speak more English, because basically this is the CEC forum where we have a certain subject to discuss. I myself have been involved in the development of CEC since I first joined customs in 1998. back then it was the name is not CEC, but like a common English club. But now I can see that the CEC has been developing to in a very good way. So we have more events, we have more participants. So hopefully we all can use this event to improve our English. And in this presentation, I hope you can also learn a little bit about supply chains, and maybe can trigger you to study further about supply chains, or maybe not. I'm not really sure. I also had a discussion about this with Bu Tunjung about what topics should we take for this occasion. During that discussion, I conclude that basically we want to have a forum that is interesting or engaging enough for us to not only to speak but also to listen. By listening, it doesn't mean that you are listening to my perfect English or everybody else perfect English. We all make mistakes. I also make mistakes, and we learn from other people's mistakes. So if you don't really want to talk about the supply chains, I'd like to open the forum to talk about anything else that you want. That is also the reason why I'd like to use perhaps 1/3 of the whole duration of this event for me speaking, and then the rest of the time for us to have discussion. Next, please. Okay, but before I start, perhaps a little bit of introduction why I agreed to participate. I'd like to also introduce that not my office, customs office in Ternate, we already established CEC here. So I'd like to use this event also to promote English learning to the employee here in customs Ternate. So all participants during this session, we will make a lot of English mistakes, as I usually do, as I always do, and I would like you to encourage you. If you want to speak, I would appreciate that, so we can have more engaging time to speak English, to practice our English. And also we will talk about a little bit of supply chains, logistics. I will talk about what is the difference between supply chains and logistics, customs role in international supply chains, or maybe we can talk some other things like that. And hopefully we will have fun. And at the end of the day, hopefully we will be happy because we speak a little bit of English. Perhaps you can recall the words inside your mind that haven't been spoken for some time, and that will give you that happy feeling if you try to exercise those words. And that is the reason why we have this forum. And maybe you can hear me, Bu Tunjung, or someone else here talking or saying new vocab, and you try to find those vocabs in dictionary and say, Dicky use it in the wrong way. So we can learn English together. Or maybe we can learn a little bit about supply chains, or maybe not because I talk too much of other things. Okay, next, please. A glimpse of supply chains. Before I talk about, we discuss about supply chains, perhaps I'd like to remind you that I think we all already familiar that we have AEO in Indonesia. I think AEO was first introduced in Indonesia in 2016, if I'm not mistaken, or 2015, but actually it was first discussed in 2012 when I was in Kia. The discussion to establish AEO was quite intense, whether the benefits of AEO is equivalent with the cost that we would spend by establishing this initiative. But the focus here, I raised the issue of AEOs, because if you read documents about AEOs, you'll find this phrase of supply chains very often, from the beginning until the end of that compendium, of that other documents about AEO. You can find it from WCO. And the AEO itself, yes, it is about a supply chain, meaning that it is customs initiative to support or to trigger security along supply chains. Because when you talk about supply chains, in a very simple way, it's about the movement of good from A to B. This movement of good from A to B, when you put it in wider perspective in the context of export and import, the actors, the operations will be complex. It involves many actors. It involves a lot of systems. It involves numerous operations. So when you want to secure a supply chain, that means you will need to secure all the actors, all systems and operations involved in this big system. So customs is one tiny part, not tiny in terms of when you put it in the context of the number of actors there, but it's quite big, considerably big in its contribution to effect the smoothness of supply chain. So when you talk about AEO, it's about the importance of customs in the chains itself. We will talk later in the later slide about the location of customs between those players in supply chain. The second initiative that we have nowadays in customs is NLE, the National Logistics Ecosystems. This initiative may not be very popular yet among us, but it is already starting to develop. And I'd like to say the initiative itself perhaps started in 2 or 3 years before, when we had discussion about the lack of integration of port operations. So I'd like you to imagine that phases of what do you call that, dwelling time. You have pre-customs clearance, you have customs clearance, and then you have post-customs clearance. During this post-oriented logistics or supply chains, if you want to put it that way, there are phases when systems do not exist yet. I'm talking about IT system, and the integration between systems in this port-oriented supply chains is lacking. For example, we have, what do you call that, INATRADE. We also have LNSW now, and many other systems, whether private or government systems. In many cases, these systems do not talk to each other. And also, the operation between phases, pre, on, and post clearance is not, they do not really integrate it. And also, we can identify a number of duplications, a number of repetition. Duplication means the activities that duplicate. Repetition means the documents that you need to submit repeatedly to different systems. That shows that this system the systems at ports, they do not talk to each other very well. They are not integrated, so that can help you conduct your business, whether import or export, very easily. So for that reason, it was customs, it was us who take the initiative to support or to drive the integration between these systems, also to fill the lacking of systems, especially at the post clearance stage. So that is also, again, one of the proofs that customs has a very important role in supply chains. Next, please. Bu Tunjung, is there someone out there who will remind me how many minutes I have taken, or just you are going to let me speak more or mumble?
Sure,
Okay.
I guess, yeah, you have spent about 12 minutes.
Oh, okay. Here we are talking about supply chain. Actually, this picture denotes a simplified cycle of supply chain, simplified stages of supply chain. Maybe you have questions how you differentiate between logistics and supply chains. To answer that question, actually researchers until now, I guess, we don't have. Someone forgets to mute the button, perhaps.
No?
And then to answer that question, the difference between logistics and supply chains is that when you picture supply chains as a circle, as a big ball, so researchers or scholars, they have different opinion whether logistics is a smaller ball inside that big ball, or that that smaller ball between the line inside and outside supply chains, or the ball that is completely outside that ball. So, but I'd like to use the term logistics as part of supply chain. So in this stage, you can see supply chain starts from the sourcing of raw materials, and it ends at when the goods, the finished product, reach the customers. Those stages involves a lot of actors, a lot of operations, a lot of systems. And to make it worse, when we don't have very good integration in supply chain, that the main actors of supply chain can be different, and they don't always see the operations along the supply chains. To give you an example, here, for example, the manufacturer, who in many cases, they are the main actors of the supply chain. They produce goods, so they source the raw materials from suppliers, who can be farmers, maybe fishermen, or other sources. And also they have they work together with the distributor, they work together with the warehouse managers, and then to make it more detailed, you have freight forwarder, you also have what do you call that, empty container park operators. So, and I'm still talking about that business side. Once we enter the government side, or the regulatory side, that will become more complex. So here, supply chain management can be described as 4 stages in the cycle. It's about planning. When you start the operation of supply chain, you will need to plan what product are you going to make, how are you going to obtain the source of your product, and how are you going to sell, to who you are going to, or who are your market, and how are you are going to market them. So, and that is the first stage, planning. And then the second one is sourcing. So you need to decide from which sources. You'll find abundance of sources, you possibility of sources, possible sources that you can choose, and you will need to choose which source that you that fits your need mostly. And then you will make the product, you will manufacture the product, and then you will deliver the product. That in these 4 stages that represent this system. Next, I guess. So here we can see customs is that part of gears, part of a big machine, where the end product of these machines, or the speed, or the smoothness of the operations, really rely on each gears. Each gear here, they contribute to the success of the end product produced by this system. So here you can see each stages in supply chain will make the difference in the performance of the machine. So as customs, we will have options whether we are going to emphasize our role to regulate the smoothness of this movement, or to facilitate. Regulate also means to control, or we will emphasize on facilitation. So I think that is the balance, the classic balance of where customs should stay. And risk management is always a very good way to express how we should approach that problem. Atau rebahan. I think that's a phrase that is quite popular for millennials. I assume that the audience of this talk will mostly millennials, but the fact I also have my sensei here, Pak Ahmad, so I don't think we are going to rebahan aja, Pak Ahmad, ya. So by this slide, I'd like to emphasize the importance of customs, because we have that authority, we have that power to regulate the smoothness or to facilitate the speed of the supply chain in the context of export and import. Next, please. Yes, and this is where things get more complicated, because nowadays, perhaps this is not the current development. It has been there since quite a long time ago, where production base is not anymore located in one or centralized in one country. Toyota, for example, and we have Toyota contributes a lot to our revenue, to our economic development. That's why Toyota is one of the eminent AEO who take a lot of advantages of the relaxation of regulation given by being an AEO. This is because Toyota has this is one of the reasons. Toyota has a very wide and global production base. For one Innova, for example, the production of one Innova, they consist of a lot of parts that is not only produced in Indonesia. I believe it's mostly produced now. It's mostly produced in Indonesia, but some parts are also imported from other countries. So this is where customs contributes a lot in the smoothness of supply chain. We have to, in this case, we have to facilitate Toyota to have their smooth operation when they import their spare parts, their parts to build one Innova. Also, to make you to give you a picture about how Toyota operates. Toyota is also in competition with other Toyota brands in India, for example, in Thailand, or Toyota used to have one manufacturer in Australia, but they now closed in Australia. But what I'm trying to say here is that even though Toyota as a business, they compete to different brands, they also compete with inside that brands. Toyota Indonesia is competing with Toyota Thailand, Toyota India, for example. And this is where customs can play more role to facilitate, to help them compete with their competitors by facilitating their import and export of vehicles. Yes, next, please. Okay. I hope this is funny enough for you. So, Bu Tujung, is it 15 minutes already?
Yeah, you have surpassed 15 minutes.
But maybe I should pause the presentation here, and we can make one session for discussion. And we still, if you are interested and you want to speak more about supply chain, I think we can continue to our next slides.
Okay. So, are there any questions from the participants? Please raise your hands or type hello CEC, or type your questions, comments, and ideas in the link. Okay, Pak Wayan Karmana. Pak Wayan, we want to see your face. Pak Wayan, are you from Bali?
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course. Okay, Pak Wayan, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Mbak Tunju. Thank you, Pak Dedi. Nice to see you again, Pak
Start your
Dicky.
video, please.
Halo, Pak Wayan.
Sorry.
Pak Wayan, are you there?
Wait.
Wayan.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Pak Dicky. As you said before about the supply chain, I will ask about the logistic. You said before that logistic is part of the supply chains management. When I have collect data from the World Bank about the logistic performance index. Every year, World Bank will declare about the logistic performance index. When I see the data, Indonesian logistic performance index is not too good. Although we already give more budget for the infrastructure, and one of item for that index is custom. What we have to ask in this discussion is when I see in that data about the custom, the score of the custom index to make Indonesian logistic performance logistic Indonesian performance logistic index is not too good, but start from 27 until the 2018. I think Indonesian custom already make a reform, but the index from the logistic performance index from the custom not too good. Maybe Pak Dicky can explain why logistic performance index Indonesian not increase, although Indonesian custom already reformed until now. Thank you, Pak Dicky.
Thank you, Pak Wayan. I'm not sure whether this is a the
Wait,
weight of the weight of that. Huh?
Would you like to accept 2 more questions or just directly answer?
It's up to you.
Okay. Just answer it directly. Okay.
Okay. Pak Wayan, I'm not sure whether the weight of your questions appropriates for this discussion. I thought this discussion is supposed to be light. Well, Pak Wayan, that reminds me the time when I joined this team together with Pak Firman. I don't know whether Pak Firman is still here or not. So together with Pak Firman, maybe you can add some views about this LPI score that we have. So I, together with Pak Firman and with other friends, we discussed about our performance that is scored by the World Bank through this LPI. Other than LPI, we also have EODB, Pak Wayan, that is often used by our government to measure the performance of our country. So yes, that the performance represented by EODB or LPI, they do not look great. They in terms of the graphic, I think sometimes they increased and sometimes they decreased. But one thing we have to consider, Pak Wayan, the method of the research when they have this LPI or when they have the EODB. The research method they use is by questionnaire distributed to participants. So the participants who responded to those questionnaires are based on their perception, based on their experience. So the research did not really calculate the real time, for example, the real cost, for example, that is spent by our stakeholders when they use our service at customs, if we talk specifically about customs. So this perception-based research cannot really reflect the performance of us only as customs. So the result can be biased when, for example, one respondent fill in the questionnaires when they are also feel, for example, they feel bad about the service given by other institution at ports. I'm not trying to put the blame on somebody else's hands, but that is the fact. It really depends on your perception, whether it is customs who already hold your service or in fact it is not customs but somebody else who has created the issues that is being complained, for example, by the respondent. So I would suggest we have that. I forget the name, Pak Firman. Maybe you can remind me about the name of the method that we I think we already take that research for several times in Indonesia to measure our performance. This research is introduced by the WTO and already conducted in Priok, in Makassar, in many ports. This research more represent the actual cost, for example, or the actual time that is spent by our stakeholders when they do their imports or export. So maybe that's one way to respond to your query, Wayan. Maybe I'd like to invite somebody else here to contribute to the discussion. Tunjung.
Yes. Pak Firman, maybe do you have any additional comments for this question?
Yeah. I think everything Pak Dicky has explained is correct. So if you're speaking about the research or the logistic performance of Indonesia, I think it's based on the questionnaire. So I think there is a big gap between what we have been doing as a customs officials and the result of the research, because you know what, the World Bank has conducted the research based on the different respondent. So for example, in 2017, for example, the World Bank choose respondent A, and then the next year the respondent is different, the respondent is B, and then the next year again there will be C. So it's not the same individual, there's not the same institution. So when we are asking every individual, there should be different answer. So there will be bias in this situation. So if you are asking the situation between 2017 to 2020 from different people, it's going to be different result, right? So for example, like this, in 2017, you are asking person A, and he says, the performance is good, customs is okay, there's no problem with the procedures, everything is just fine. And then in 2020, the questions goes to person B, and the person B say, no, it's really bad. In 2020, custom is not good. I got a problem with the procedures. I cannot get the good cleared. So if you see from that situation, in 2017, situation is good. In 2020, it's bad. But all the answers coming from different resources, right? So that's the problem from the research by the World Bank. I think what Pak Dike has mentioned before, that there is a new method offered by customs. We are making a very precise or clear indicators, such as, for example, time clearance, and then how much money that the importers and exporters have to spend for custom clearance and everything. And then, for example, how we make cooperation with the stakeholders, how we develop more reputable traders. I think it's very important, because once you have more reputable traders in the country, that means you are having less risk in doing custom clearance. I think what Pak Dike has said is correct. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Firman. In addition to that, maybe Pak Wayan and also Pak Firman, of course, we agree that those indicators presented by EODB or the LPI are very good indicators that we can use to measure our performance. But to give you an idea, Pak Wayan, when I had this discussion, a quite long discussion with the representative of World Bank in Jakarta. We asked them about the funny ranks between Indonesia and India, for example. India has a very good score in their EODB performance. I'm talking about customs performance. While Indonesia is worse much worse compared to India. And I had this experience with Pak Dedi. I'm not sure if Pak Dedi is here or not. I'm sorry, not Pak Dedi, Pak Anju. We went to India, Pak Wayan. I was lucky to have that opportunity to have a training when we had a training in New Delhi. We asked questions a lot about their performance, about what they offer, what system they have in India, especially in New Delhi. To be frankly, what they have now is not better, it's not better than us. In fact, when they introduced electronic data interchange, we are far forward than them in terms of timeline, in terms of what do you call it? Kecanggihan. What is kecanggihan in English? I'm lacking. Bu Effie, you will fail me on vocab. But that is a good example, Pak Wayan. It doesn't always mean when we have lower rank compared to other countries in EODB ranking, it means we can automatically conclude that we are worse than those countries. When we tell them that we also have very similar programs like Malaysia, like Thailand, or even Singapore, the EODB, let's say, research group says that this program is already there before. So if you want to improve your program, you will need to introduce your program during the research. So that will be counted as a new initiative that will considerably improve your rank. That is a little bit unacceptable for us during that discussion, because basically if we run together, if we have a running competition and we start from the same line, we will be much forward, we will be much advanced than India. But since we already started the run far before India starts, so we have to be lower compared to India in the ranking. Which it's really up to you how to take that information. Bu Tunjung.
Okay. Thank you for the discussion, Pak Wayan, Pak Dicky, and Pak Firman. Probably the problem is the research from the World Bank is more accessible than the research from the WCO. Then people will build their perception more from this index come from the WB. Yeah, maybe. But thank you so much for the question, Pak Wayan, and it brings us a different horizon. Okay, and then the second question will be from Mr. Yendo from Kia. Mr. Yendo.
Thank you, Bu. Tunjung, good afternoon, everyone, and Pak Dicky. Yes, we often heard the term supply chain, but at the same time we also heard other chain that in global terms there is a value chain. Okay, so we know a supply chain and value chain. So how do you see the correlation between these two chains and in relation with our role as customs and administration in facilitating trade? Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Yendo. Maybe you ask that question in Japanese.
No, sir.
Bu Tunjung, do I respond to these questions directly or?
Yes, directly, sir.
Okay, Thank you, Bu Tunjung. Thank you, Yedo, for your questions. Yes, we have this very quite popular phrase too, global value chain or value chain without global. So when we talk about definitions, or when your question is about which definition is correct, it really depends on your perspective, and it really depends on how you want to use those terms. But mostly scholars agreed on one thing. Supply chain focus on the movement of goods and the systems that supports that movement. It's about the goods itself, how the goods are sourced, how the goods are produced, how the goods are delivered, how the goods are accepted by the customers. That's when we talk about supply chains. When we talk about value chain, can I have that slide back about the car slide? So this is where value chain takes place. So the value chain is about how many value or how much value an actor, an operation, or a system can contribute to the whole chain, right? This doesn't always mean the player in terms of business, but also us at customs. We can contribute to improve our value chain by facilitating the movement of goods, so that the what do you call it, the selling price of Toyota can be cheaper compared to Indian price, for example, because we provide a lot of facilitation measures for the import of parts of Toyota, and also the export of Toyota to other countries. So when you say value, it is about when we add global there, so it is about the operation conducted in different areas in the globe, in different countries, that adds value to the product. So if you produce the product here, and then you send the product, for example, to Malang, and in Malang they make the product more interesting by wrapping the product in a way to make the product looks interesting. So that Malang side has added a value to that product itself. So when that value is back to Jakarta or to somewhere, and then it is exported to somewhere else, they will have better value. That is what is considered as value chain. But value chains plays two. We can see value in two ways. The way that I just explained is about how an actor, an operation, or a system contribute to the value of the goods. In another way, it is about how much value that you can earn from that goods. So it is about, so when you are, for example, a warehouse operator, when the goods is located in a warehouse, placed in a warehouse, so the owner of these goods will have to, they pay to the operator of this warehouse. So in this term, they also take advantage, take a cost of the whole chain, of the whole value chain. So in a way, they take the cost of the goods that will be added at the end of the day, that will be added into the price of the goods that is paid by the customer. So then that is the value that is gained by the warehouse operator. So, but then that is also the value that they contribute to the goods, because, for example, by putting that goods inside this warehouse, it means that the goods can be safer, for example, or where if the house is or is if the warehouse is refrigerated, so the goods can stay fresher, so they do not deteriorate. That is one difficult word. Deteriorate or getting bad. The goods gets bad, so because of this refrigeration in the warehouse. So it can be you contribute a value. You can also earn a value from the supply chain. That is the concept of value chain.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, thank you for your explanation, Pak Dicky. Pak Yendo, do you have any further questions? No. Okay.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
To Tunjung, maybe we should open the discussion to everyone. I mean, it is not only
okay.
this is not only question and answer. You can also
Yes.
answer that question or comment. Maybe you have different perspectives about my response.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Is there any other comments for these questions? Maybe I can add, Pak, for customs officers, do you think that there are some challenges regarding to this global value chain or value chains? Because from the audit perspective, from my side, for example, when we examine important goods with an FTA scheme, we cannot easily find out the origin of these goods because value chains. And then also there is a risk of transfer pricing from this multinational companies.
The topic becomes heavier and heavier.
Okay, that's only my comments, but I invite comments from other participants about these value chains. Very interesting. If not, probably we can move to the second participant, to the third participant. Okay, so I give the floor to Mr. M. Hadian Rido from KPPBC Dumai. Yes, Mr. Hadian.
Yes. Excuse me, sir. My name is Rido from Dumai Customs. We have the current issue about the digital goods now, like examples like Netflix, YouTube, or Spotify. And I think this good is more complicated than the other goods because they don't need the supply chain one, and they don't need the dwelling time too. And I want to ask your opinion about how can we handle these digital goods in the future. How can we take the revenue from the import duty? And how about the control of the restricted and the illegal goods and the connection between digital goods and the supply chain? Thank you, sir.
Wow, this is really serious one.
Yeah, Pak. And get wider and wider, Pak. But yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I refuse to be called as an expert, because I don't answer all questions. Or maybe anyone else is more capable of answering that questions. Pak Yudi, for example.
Or someone from Directorate of Customs.
I'm asking questions. I'm giving answers.
Bu Melanie.
Yes.
I'm sure you heard a lot of discussion about that importation. Bu Mel, do you have any idea how to respond to that question?
Yes.
Actually, this is related to the question I want to ask you.
Oh. Okay. Shoot me, Pak Yudi, shoot me.
Yeah, Pak, may I respond to this question? So, based on my experience in audit, so there is a PMK, I forgot the number, that actually already put HS code for this software, but still limited to some kind of software that is not imported with the what do you call it, carrier, like CD or flash disk, for example, like downloaded from the internet. But actually we are still confused how to collect the revenue from it, because where's the PIB or where's the import declaration? Okay, luckily the tariff is still zero, but because this is I guess is the first stage of implementation, so we kind of want to see how big is the trade of this software. Yeah. And if the software is linked to some machine or some computer to be operated together with this computer or with this machine, then the HS code will be used with that machine HS code. But we need the PIB or the import declaration first. Okay, so but with the Netflix or other subscription channel or subscription service, I don't think we can, right now, I don't think we can impose any duty for that, because I don't know if, is it downloaded or just stream, like we use this like Zoom like this or YouTube. Yeah, it's we can, I think we can expand it in the future, but right now based on my experience, that's all I know.
Tunjung, maybe I'd like to respond a bit about this. So since we are now talking about logistics and supply chains, I think Netflix or Spotify are examples of industries that can, I was about to say evade, but I don't know whether, I'm sure they are not trying to evade the systems of supply chain, but I think these are the examples of industries where supply chains can simplify, where logistics can be much simplified. So technology has helped in simplifying things. So in reducing a lot of operations, a lot of regulations. So this is also where customs is challenged to cope with the development of technology. Maybe that's how I see the relevance between the issue of Netflix and Spotify and the topics of supply chains. So it doesn't always mean that all goods produced, they must entail with a lot of complexity of supply chains. But some industries also introduce simplicity or simplified supply chain and logistic, where this also should be translated into a challenge for customs to respond. If our government decide to put revenue to collect revenue from that industry, but I think the discussion it's still quite long, whether they are, well, Bu Tunjung knows better. Maybe that's from my end.
Pak Dicky, Pak Tunjung.
Yes, Pak Firman.
Can I add some comments on this?
Sure.
I think it's very important issue. Yeah, question from Pak Hadian. Yeah, a couple of times ago there was a big or lengthy discussion between customs and Amazon Web Services about this issue. Yeah, so I think there is a very big stance between Indonesia and other countries. Most of the countries, they don't impose custom duties on electronic goods or digital goods. I think it's only Indonesia and only few countries like India, maybe China. But I think the trend is in the future, there will be no custom duties. But if we are speaking about revenue, of course, they are subject to revenue, national revenue. So they can switch from the custom duties to the tax. So they will collect revenue after importations. So for example, if the case of downloading like Spotify or Netflix, yeah, let's say from the US to Indonesia, so the consumer in Indonesia will be deducted by tax agencies in Indonesia, not by custom. But in the case of Indonesia, of course, based on the regulation, custom should impose the duties. But fortunately, the duties is 0%, right? So it's not complicated right now. But in the future, if the rate is increased like 5%, it's going to be very difficult and very complicated for customs officer how to impose that duties. I think in the future there should be a cooperation between customs and tax. So how to collect the duties? I think after the importations. So let the consumer, let the importers do downloading or importing everything from outside of Indonesia, from the US. And then at the end of the year, for example, based on the tax report, we can collect the duties. I think that's the simple thing we can do in the future. But for now, if we are doing, collection like what we are doing at the port, it's going to be very, very difficult because you cannot see the things going through your computer and how to stop that. So yeah, and the other thing, the other issue is how we strengthen our position before other countries. We are different. We are imposing custom duties, but most of the countries they don't. So I think that's the big issue right now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
If we can, I think we should impose a very high customs duty on coronavirus.
Imported from China. But with customs declaration ya, Pak. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Hadi and Rido, for your excellent questions.
Tunjung, if I may add a bit.
Who is speaking?
Yendo.
Right now?
This is Yendo.
Oh, Yendo. Yes, Mr.
Yeah.
Yendo, please.
So I'm going to talk not from the technical side, but from my background side in international affairs. And basically, in terms of digital goods, currently there is still a debate whether it is goods or services. For example, we discussed digital goods in Indonesia EU JEPA in the working group on trade in services. So because this basically EU sees digital goods as services, and in also in WTO the discussion is still ongoing. So it's still unclear, but currently in WTO we have an agreement, not an agreement, a pact, just not a binding, not like unlike a binding agreement, just a decision, ministerial decision that we are currently not imposing the duties. However, yes, basically the bottom line is that there is still debate between whether it is considered as goods or services. But if from the supply chain point of view, I think digital goods have their own supply chain. Like if we games, for instance, a game publisher, I think they are not doing everything in game designing by their own. Maybe they will outsource some parts of their gaming design to other companies, like character design, for instance, or landscape design, and then they also maybe take a engine from the game for the game from other provider also. So I think in terms of supply chain, they have their own environment of supply chain. I think yes. I think that is enough. That, that is all for me now about that. Thank you.
I'm glad to have Kial's officers aboard.
Yes.
Thank you, Yendo.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Yendo. So we are going to move to the next questions from Pak Mohsinin Hussein. Pak Uchin, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Tunjung. Good
You
afternoon.
can see your face.
Wait. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, especially Mr. Dicky. Thank you for your presentation. Actually, yeah, I'm so sorry for being late join this discussion. So I think I've been missed many things from your presentation, but I hope my questions still relate with the theme. Companies are reacting to the global economics crisis by reshaping the way they do business. Corporate reshaping of the supply chain usually requires detailed attention to customs aspects of the business chain. When overlooked, custom issues often result in increased costs and unanticipated barriers, especially from other ministries to the overall structure. So hence, companies often move some of all their own production. Some companies may also move manufacturing to a lower cost country to improve margins. The question is, what is DGC position to handle this situation? And while there are global efforts within the WTO for duty reduction and elimination for certain products, and how about regulation from other ministries as a barrier to protect our domestic consumers and local producers? Is it all effective? I mean, that's all other companies' regulation within what is it, tip to customs? Is it all effective? And we have to support them all, because sometimes it can confuse me as a customs officer in the field, especially as PFD. Thank you, Mr. Dicky.
Hi, Pak Hussein. Thank you so much for your questions. So you are now a PFPD. Where are you work? Where did you work?
Soekarno-Hatta.
Oh, keren. Cool.
Thank you.
So maybe I can summarize your questions. Your questions has three points, perhaps. One, customs as barriers, and second is about customs as a contributor in the atmosphere of or the environment of investment, and customs function, because we are implementing the regulations from that other. Is yes, from other ministries and other agencies. I think we have to how do you put it? the easy answer to that is about risk management. I mean, we always have that expectation to balance our both functions to control and to facilitate. And it is not always easy to have that balance. That is the main reasons why we have risk management. Maybe to answer your, not to answer, but to respond to your questions, Pak Hussein, I'd like to give you an example of what I'm doing now here in Ternate. In Ternate, we have our stakeholders here in terms of risk management are quite low. We do not have import goods like consumer goods. All of the goods are goods imported to build a factory, to build a smelter, and these are very big investment, whether they are domestic investment or foreign investment. So here, in our perspective here in Ternate, we emphasize more on our facilitation. But it doesn't mean that we relax our control. Still, those elements of risk management also emerge in our consideration. But in a way, we have that different channels is also a representation of risk management, and also the what do you call it, the approach that we have on the ground in the field. It's also based on the level of risk that we are facing. When you are posted in Cengkareng or in Tanjung Priok, where the characteristics of goods are very complex, the level of risk very wide, from the very low risk or very high risk. Of course, your control function should be more emphasized. But here in Ternate, we emphasize more in our facilitation part. So I think that is how the balance of control and facilitation plays a role in the contribution to create or to support the atmosphere of investment more stable, or to create the whole performance of this country is more interesting for our future investors. So this is also relevant with the ranking of EODB or LPI that, as we discussed before, Bu Tunjung mentioned. What if both ranking are considered by our potential investors? When they see that the ranking of Indonesia is lower than India, they will choose India as a place for their investment. So that is why we tried our best. We tried very hard to improve those ranking in EODB and LPI. And here, customs plays a very big role. Maybe that's my comments to your comment. That doesn't answer your question at all, I'm afraid. Bu Tunjung, maybe.
Yes, Pak Utin, do you have any comments?
No, I think yeah, we have different risk between BC Ternate and Cengkareng and Tanjung Priok. But yeah, we have to set up risk management, but it is very challenging for us because we have to accommodate companies also, especially with this current situation, because of pandemic. So many companies have to reshape their business. So yeah, thank you for your what is it? Your comment for this
Thank you, Pak Utin.
question. Thank you, Mr. Dicky.
Thank you. So I think there is a last question that comes from the link from Bu Titi. Bu Titi, are you still there? Yes. Bu Titi, would you like to?
Yes, I'm still
Okay.
here.
Yes.
I'm still, yeah. I just want
Yes,
to
good.
ask that if we do not have like no boundaries, how to move the thing from other country to other country, to one country to other country, it means that we do not have law or boundaries to import goods. I mean, there's no strictly controlled by government. Do we customs still have work to do? And how we can contribute for our country? Do you have any prediction how will be, or how we can work, or how the supply chain can be changing in the future? If we talk about warehouse, maybe uh, uh, 10 years later, we do not have warehouse, we do not have bonded zone. Everything maybe will produce in a truck or in a mode of transportation, and will be changing to another place or another site. And maybe there's no like warehouse or manufacturing site or location. Just do in a truck or in a mode of transportation, and then if they have producing or they finish, they will move to other. Can you understand what I mean, what I'm talking about? Like,
Yes, hopefully.
yeah. So
if I can see
maybe
your face, I think I will understand your questions much clearer.
Pardon?
If I
You
can
know
see
that.
your face,
Oh,
I think
yeah.
I will
Turn your
understand
video
more.
on, Bu. Yes.
Hi. You know that maybe in other 10 years later, there is no like bonded zone. We can produce something like car if we upgrade like what is ban or dashboard producer. No, like we can put it in like in a an assembly, but the assembly is not like we use today. There is a truck, and you put it the assembly in there, and the truck will be moving, right? And then in other side, you are the transport producer, like in an example, and you put it in a truck, and you put it in a assembling machine or assembling truck. Maybe maybe how to produce something will be different, like we use today. So how can we control it as a custom?
Okay, Pak Diki, have you got the questions?
Well, I can.
Yes.
I can grab a few points there, but to be frankly, I'm not sure whether I can grab it completely your question, Bu Titi. But so maybe you're asking about the trend on how supply chain is going to change in the future. I would say technology is one part that will contribute to a lot of changes, including supply chain, like what was mentioned by the previous participant who asked the question, and how supply chain evolve maybe. I'd like to relate this question to the previous question about value chain. Traditionally, or as a trend, we used to have a manufacturer to produce one product as a complete product. One good example of this, well, to be frankly, I'm not sure whether this is correct or not, but I assume it is correct from what I read. Brompton bicycle. Most of these Brompton parts are made by Brompton itself. That's why that makes this Brompton bicycle very expensive. And this bicycle is made, is handmade. That's always their promotion. This bicycle is handmade, and all of, if not all, most of the parts of Brompton bicycle is made by Brompton itself, right? And this trend used to be there. I cannot mention any time range, but it used to be there. But nowadays, as global value chains developing very intensely, bicycles, for example, are very, maybe only Brompton who did this, who is still doing this. All other bicycle brands, they mix their products with different brands. And most of cases, all these brands, even though they are first established in the United States, Trek, Giant, for example, or what is another brand? I'm thinking of other brands in Canada, in Italy. All these brands are now made in China or Taiwan, and most of the parts itself is made in many other parts in the globe. Maybe no Trek bicycles is made in America right now. They only own the share, for example. Maybe. I mean, it's just an illustration. It's not. It doesn't mean it's correct. So that is the how the trend of supply chain, where you usually had one production stay in a location from scratch until the end product, and then you sell it to someone else. And now this production will involve numerous actors and operations, and most of the time it spreads around the globe, where that makes customs play a very important role, like in the case of Toyota. Another trend that that I've been reading, not lately, but a few years back when I still study, is about the trend of integration of supply chain. So I mentioned a lot the term supply chain during the term integration during my presentation, Bu Titi. This integration can be in the aspect of ownership, for example, in the term of contract, in terms of the system that makes the visibility of all actors is open to all the players in the supply chain, or by contract, it means one operation is by law, they have to be responsible to the other player in the supply chains, or by technology or by systems. Whether, for example, we will have NLE, National Logistic Ecosystem, where the user of NLE can see the movement of goods in that dwelling time phases. So these are the examples of integration, and the integration, the ownership integration, is the example that I mentioned earlier, related to the case of Brompton. So nowadays, the trend is for a producer to let go some of their operations and let them done by other contractors. It is very rare for you to find a big name in one industry that operates all the operations. I mentioned the track bicycles, for example, the other brands of bicycles when it is compared to Brompton. So and also we used to have export, import, or logistic business or operations held by the owner of the companies. Nowadays, we have quite significant growth of business in logistics. We have a lot of names. In those days we only have Dicky. Now we have JNE. I cannot mention other brands, but we can see a lot of companies emerging like mushroom in the rainy season. That I'm glad that I used that term. I never used that term before. Like mushrooms, they grow like mushrooms in the rainy season. So a lot of logistics companies plays role in the supply chains because that trend of giving away the logistic operations to contractor. So I think that those are two examples of trends that is changing in supply chain. Bu Tunjung or Bu Titi.
Yes. Bu Titi, does it answer your question? I think you mentioned about if there is no boundaries or law between boundaries, does customs still have work to do?
Yeah, that's it. So nowadays we control or we mengawasi. What is mengawasi in English? Yeah, like what I do now. I'm in a bonded zone. Said if there are CCTV, but if the production produce their product not in a not in a location like today, like we use today, but how we can control them, like but I can understand what Pak Dicky said about supply chain that maybe will be changed in the future, like how custom will what is kept along with the changes. But it's okay. Yeah, I can understand the answer is. Thank you, Pak Dicky.
Thank you, Bu Titi.
And Pak Dicky. Well, I guess that's a wrap up for our discussion session and Q&A session.
Can I give a floor to one member of Ternate's CEC participant?
Yeah, I think some of the participants are from Ternate.
Yes. Hello, anyone? Bulan, you want to say something?
Say hi to everyone. I guess you have a slide of your activities there, Pak.
Oh yeah, is it time to present
Intan?
that?
Yes. Intan?
Are we closing?
Yes, we are closing.
Okay.
Yes. Intan, would you like to share a slide, the Pak Dicky slide?
I thought Pak Yudi wants to say something.
Yes. This is your...
Yeah.
Okay.
So we just established this the CEC yesterday, and not yesterday, few weeks ago. Yesterday we had our first event, and I'm very glad and very happy with that event because Bu Evi, when I had the experience teaching in one of your classes in Pancoran, I said at the end of the courses, I always said that I always encourage everyone to practice their English and to join CEC club wherever you are posted, because we always have CEC club in every office. So this is what we have in Ternate. And by the way, syukur dofu dofu means thank you.
Okay. You're welcome, Pak. I'm
And
glad
please
to
follow
see
our
you.
channels.
Yeah, sure. Okay. And we also have Pak Agus Wisnu. Are you still with us from BC Dumai? I guess you also established a CEC in your office. Okay, already gone. Okay. So I think that's a wrap up for this session. Intan, please stop the screen sharing. Yes, thank you very much for your participation. Probably I can, if I can extract some of the messages or some of the important parts of your of this whole discussion is customs plays an important role in supply chain management, and in Indonesia it promotes an integration among the import-export systems from all related institutions through the NLE. And then one important thing is that software or data trade is still a debate if it is a goods or a service, and Indonesian customs still impose 0% duty in software import downloaded from the internet, because we want to see the data, how big it is and how big the impact it is for our own industry. Okay. Oh, Pak Agus Wisnu, you have come back. Okay, next time. Yeah. Thank you very much for all your active participations. Oh, before closing, we have Pak Tarto here, our next speaker. Would you like to say something about your session or about this session or the last session?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jung. Well,
Okay. So you now have
it's
a picture, yeah?
it's astonishing about Pak Dik's topic. Actually, I mean, it's a brand new thing for me to digest. It's quite difficult. It's quite heavy. Thank you, Pak Dik. You're enlightening us with your topic,
Hopefully
supply chain.
you don't feel tortured.
It's a little bit, but I'm sure it will be fruitful for all of us, the participants.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Pak Diki, and thank you, Bu Tinjung, for forcing me to be the next speaker. Thank you. See you
Thank
next
you,
week.
Pak Tarto. Good luck for your next session. And I guess this is time for the appreciation for Pak Diki as our speaker. Intan, would you please share the screen of our certificate of appreciation?
Can I count it as a credit?
What kind of credit, Pak? Yes, of course, personal credit.
Thank you, Butunjung. Oh, it's not there yet.
Okay, yeah, Intan, please. Yeah, in the meantime, I also want to say thank you, Bu Evi, Pak Yudi, Pak Ahmad Firdiansyah. Oh, here it comes. Okay. Still in the form of, okay.
That is not my
Sorry.
topic.
May I say a word, please?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Oh, I think
Evi, yeah.
yeah. Okay,
My
thank you.
teacher.
So I think it's a very good session. I stay passive actually because I want to learn something. I mean, it's like the discussion is so tough. Yeah, the participants are so active. I like it. So I'm so glad to be here. I learned something that I don't really aware of before. Thank you, Pak Diki, for making me feel so stupid. But yeah, I'm just because I'm a language teacher, where I just see that how people interact using English, which is not their own native language. I think it's very good session. Yeah. So I think it's very okay to make mistakes. Yeah, especially in learning and building skills. Yeah. Even after you learn the skills like I do, you will still make mistakes. Yeah. I make mistakes quite a lot, although I've been teaching English for more than 30 years, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, to make mistake is just human. Yeah. To err is human. But you learn something from your mistake here. So don't be shy. It's not a crime, right? So rather than being, you know, embarrassed or disheartened, yeah, it's much better to take the heat of these mistakes, right? So I think, yeah, thank you all guys and keep it up. Yeah, it's very good session. You are also awesome, Pak Dicky. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here and see you again here. That's all. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Bu Effie. Next time, would you like to be a speaker in this inspirational
Well,
talk?
it'll be an honor. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But my
Okay.
topic is
I'll
not
be
going
your moderator.
to be like this tough. Yeah, I know nothing about, you know,
Oh,
trade or
yeah.
supply chain
It's
thing. No, no.
okay. Yeah.
Maybe I'll just talk about hobbies. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Or music. Yeah, Pak Dikyo.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Later we will talk about this in private messages, yeah, Bu
Okay.
Effie. Okay. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Yes. And then there is
Anytime.
Pak.
Anytime.
Yes, there is Pak Ahmad Firdiansyah. Hello, Pak. Yes, Pak Ahmad Firdiansyah is the what we call is the founder of the Customs Journal. Is it true in Pakistan? Yeah. I hope that later we will have a session to introduce this Customs Journal. Yes. Pak Ahmad, would you like to say something? Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Tunjung. Maybe next time.
You can promote it, yes. In your own session, ya, Pak.
Yes, yes.
Yes, okay. Thank you so much. Yes. And then we have Pak Yudi.
Welcome.
Yes. Pak Yudi, how is the CEC over there in your office?
They're very active.
Still struggling, but we're doing okay.
Yeah, we saw your pictures of your activities. It was amazing.
I hope people enjoy talking in English here.
Yes.
So they would like it.
Thank you so much, Pak, for joining our session. And then we have Pak Firman here.
Yeah,
Pak
thank
Firman,
you.
yes.
Mbak Tunjung. I think the discussion is very nice, very good. We have so many new insights, and hopefully we can go for the next round. Yeah, maybe Pak Tarto next round.
Yes, Pak Tarto.
There's going to be a new what is it? New information also, and good for everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Firman. Yes. And then we have Mbak Indri, Mbak Uci from Pakistan. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Uci is my batch. Okay. How are you, Uci? Time I will invite you for sharing your experience in WCO.
Okay. Cannot promise for that. It's just a hobby, like like Ibu Evi, yeah. Very light topic. Then it would be a light topic. Thank you, Tunjung, for informing us outside the customs to and allow us to participate in your session.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining. And then we have, okay, Pak Dedi Abdul Hadi. That will be our speaker for next session.
Is Pak Dedi here?
Yes, I guess.
Sensei. Akang Senpai mana Akang Senpai? He's not here.
Okay. And I would like to say hi to Bu Leni from Maluku, all the way from Maluku. Would you like to say something, Bu? Okay, I think Bu Leni is not here. Okay, Intan, would you like to share the screen of our next session and our July session? Yes, our next session will be on Thursday, July 16 with Pak Tarto. The theme is Road to WCO Experts, a glimpse on enforcement career. I think it's gonna be very exciting. The time will be morning 9 to 10:30 Jakarta time. And then the fourth one is Pak Nufransa Wirasakti, the staff for Minister of Finance, talking about tax on e-commerce. This is a very interesting topic. On July 22nd, Wednesday, also in the morning, and Pak Dedi Abdul Hadi about optimizing customs facilities. July 29 on Wednesday, 9 to 10:30. And the sixth talk will be in August, August the 6th, Thursday in the afternoon, representing Mr. Tejo Arumkusumo, Career and Training Opportunities in World Customs Organization, or WCO. He is a technical officer, I guess, in WCO, so it will be very exciting to learn about this topic from him. Okay, so, and then we have a flyer for the next session for Pak Tarto. Yes, okay. Thank you so much for coming. And then for you that have already registered through email, we will send you email about the questionnaire of evaluation of this session, and then asking you for a suggestion for the incoming next session about the speakers or the topics that you would like to be delivered. So please take your time to fill the questionnaire. It's all for us. And then, yes, after that, we will upload this record to our YouTube channel that we can also deliver to you by email the link, and then we can also you can also follow us in our Instagram at indonesian.ceec to know what's more to come. Okay, so after this, I guess the time for a group photo. Intan or the host, would you please take print screen of the participants? Please turn on your videos and prepare your best smile. Okay. Intan, do you hear me?
Yes, Miss.
Yes. Please take one page at a time. Yeah. There are three pages.
Okay.
So the first page will be taken first.
Okay.
Okay. On your count.
Yes. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3.
Yes. Next page. Second page.
Okay.
Can you tell which page you are in?
I don't know.
The last page. Yes.
Okay. 1, 2.
Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. The last page.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much. So this is the wrap up of this session. Thank you so much for your active participation. I can wait to see you on the next session. See you. Bye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Bu Tunjung.
Thank you very much.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you.
Good session. Keep it up.
Thank you all.
Mau
Thank you all.
lihat Pak Yudi.
Muris mau lihat teh.
Syukur.
Okay.
Kodang.
I'm glad I don't have to go through the following slides.
Pak Pak Diki, the certificate is menyusul ya Pak. After this.
Sertifikatnya Bu
There
Ririn.
is a typo. I'm so sorry.
It's fine.
Everyone makes
Okay.
mistakes.
Thank you for your spirit, Bu Tunjung. Luar biasa.
Bu Evi, do you know my sister Ayu from
Bu Evi,
Bapak-bapak saya?
Ayu Nawang. Sorry.
Ayu Parameswari.
Oh, I think I know her. I once lived in the same boarding house with her.
Yes.
Yeah.
He
That's
is now
why
in-
you
he's now
remind
in
me of her actually.
Really?
Sister, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, what a coincidence.
Yeah,
Small
right.
world.
Yeah, small word. Bu Evi, what kind of topic do you want to deliver? Oh, this is so straight. I don't want to.
I don't know. Guys,
Yes.
I have so many, appointments. So I hope it's not something too serious. I mean, I cannot have
right.
good preparation, yeah.
Yeah.
So I have, like assessor appointment, like mentoring, and also with my PJJ classes too, and also with e-learning, we have synchronous